Okay, now we are going. All right, so it does say live, but we're not right there. It does say live, but we're not live. We're just recording. So this is for the CUSF. My name is Swally Swede. A lot of people probably know me on Facebook. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. Um, and then we've got Jason. Jason, who are you and who are you with?
I'm Jason. I founded the BCIT Student Association Firearms Club in late 2018 and used to be the president there as well, but not currently. I also volunteer as the BC area CUSF coordinator type person.
Nice. And we've talked. Hopefully, we're going to have you and the other two guys from BCIT on as a separate episode as well. And then Shamy, who the hell are you?
I'm Shamy. I'm just new to the hobby. I've just entered the hobby a couple of years ago, and I'm just a student, PhD student, an instructor. But yeah, I'm part of a gun club. I'm new to the hobby. It's a fantastic hobby, and one of my passions in the last 2 years. So happy to be here.
What got you into guns?
So my best buddy is and was doing his excuse me, his certification to be a CFO instructor, and so I took the course with him, and I was mostly like interested in guns in general, but do not know the process, not know the laws and all of that, and he just blew my mind with information about the gun laws in Canada and how different they are from other countries and so on, and how strict they are. Uh, and I took the course 2 years ago, and we've been shooting together ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you get your restricted or non?
Yes, both. I got both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I might as well. Like you pay a little bit extra, you do two tests, and then you can just buy anything.
Exactly.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
Well, buy anything. We'll get into that. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're having just kind of a bit of a discussion. There was supposed to be a fourth, but he had to work a little bit late. So we're just going to have a little bit of discussion. We talked ahead of time on Facebook, and we had a couple of topics that came up. And I thought maybe if we spend 5-10 minutes without too much swearing on each one. So the first one, magazine capacity limits. So we've got mag restrictions depending on caliber. Most people care about the fun caliber, the expensive caliber, which we're pinned to 5 or we're limited to 5. Now, Jason, this is something that you brought up. So how do you feel about this?
I don't think I brought it up, but I've got opinions on it.
Okay, sorry. Give me an opinion. Give me an opinion.
First of all, it's a little convoluted given that some aspects of it are, again, as you say, caliber dependent or rimfire dependent or action dependent. And even in cases where it's, center fire, semi-auto, 5-round capacity limit because it's a rifle instead of a handgun, you've still got stuff where, like, someone who's going to be respecting the law anyway is that's fine that they're going to do that. It's going to suck, but they're going to do it. Someone who isn't, which presumably it's intended to address, some psychopath or something. I don't know, my SKS, I'm pretty sure I could get the pin out of that with a pair of pliers. Totally illegal, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
So
no, I've never seen a pinned magazine. I went shooting with an ex-girlfriend of mine beginning of this year. She's a cop, so she took her, well, it's her gun, but she took her AR and her handgun, both privately owned. And that is the first time in my life I've shot a pin magazine because I was in the military back home and we had the fun sizes. And I was a correctional officer and we had AR-15s there. And same thing, normal size. So it's like just when the fun started, like, because I hadn't shot an AR for probably 10 years. So I flinched a little bit on the first one. And then it's like, and then as you're getting a groove, it's like, oh, the ride's over already.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do see why because it's not because of the legal gun owners. It's so people don't go in and just offload, just pop, shoot down a bunch of people.
and there's that as well. Like someone who's skilled, like there are videos online of people who are really competent and quick with reloading and shooting, and you can't even tell they reloaded because it's just going that fast.
Yeah.
So like, what does it matter?
Yeah, I agree. I think like the mag caps, the reason, like you said, they're intended for is to reduce the possibility of a shooting spree, for example. But a person who is planning to do that would not care about the load, not care about the pin. It would remove the pin, modify the gun. They would be trained, have a lot of magazines and so on. They can find ways around it. It's not going to stop them at all. And then when like you said, shooting a gun like the AR, you're limited to 5, and it takes out the fun for legal owners. And then you go shoot, like I have my oh my god, I'm blanking. My 22 LR plinking rifle, and there's a drum for it that's 120 shots, and it's just super fantastic to shoot. It's super fun. So yeah,
What's the rifle?
I'm trying to remember. I'm blanking it out.
What did you say? 120 rounds in that?
Yeah.
So
120
you
rounds.
just kind of get comfortable, pack a sandwich, and then you just sit there and.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes an hour and a half to reload, but it's worth it.
I've got a little my main rifle is my Savage, and I just have the little banana clips, and I only bring 2 because the range I'm a member of, you don't pay for time. So I shoot my 2 mags, and then I just kind of catch my breath, and I reload there. Like I don't preload a bunch of magazines. So it's kind of just part of the process because I find it quite relaxing to reload.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. No, but the 22. So it's the GSG 16. Just looked it up. That was driving me crazy. It's just the 22s are also slightly. I find them personally slightly difficult to reload, especially with the drum. But it's super fun. And I don't know, like if you have an AR-15, how much more can you fit into the magazine if it's not pinned anyway?
The standard, typical AR-15 magazine size is 30 or 32 rounds or so, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that would obviously be illegal in Canada, but
yeah.
I want to say 32 sounds like an odd number. I'm sure it's 30. Because when we had them on shift at the one jail I worked at, when you come on shift, you have to count every single one. So you got, I don't know how many mags in there, and then you pop them all out, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back in, and then you do your shift change to make sure nobody actually walks home with the bullet.
Totally defer to Swally's expertise here.
Well, expertise.
Experience.
Yeah. Again, very. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, I don't personally see this changing anytime soon because there's really no reason to change it. It takes a little bit to get a law in, but it takes a lot more to get it taken out, especially if there's not a problem. So I mean, aside from people not liking it, I don't see this ever changing.
I do think that it could be improved just on a consistency basis as well.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there's the rimfire thing where it's unlimited, which is interesting in the first place compared to centerfire, but okay, put that aside. Then you've got pistol magazines where they're limited to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And there are pistol magazines, as you probably know, that fit the AR-15 or similar rifles, and there are still non-restricted AR-15 type rifles that take the same STANAG mags.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pistol magazine. It's designated as such. You can legally load 10 rounds in it and stick it in a rifle. So why not? Like, I sort of hate to say it that.
Yeah, no, I see where you're going, and you don't want to. You don't want to sell the whole community up the river, but yeah,
I think consistency there would be good, and I honestly think going higher with consistency rather than lower makes more sense. But either way, consistency is probably better than weird little edge cases in law.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, like I don't mind saying, like I spent half my life working for the government in one way or another. Most of it was corrections. So I'm a rules guy, and I like things to be common sense. It feels like I've used that term so much in the last year or two. Common sense, like it's not very common anymore. No, that's a common saying. But so I hear you, and I mean, if it does fit, it kind of shouldn't be illegal. But then you're taking away that from all the gun owners when there really is no reason to. And I mean, and I've said in that we did a teaser trailer of this, Dave and I, where we just kind of interviewed each other, and we called it episode 0, which we hopefully will be launching as well. And that's kind of, and in that I explained my background, and I was originally for the AR ban, because I mean, when I was in the military, what we did, we got very, very good at just double tapping. So I know how much damage you can do with a semi-automatic rifle in the right hands or in the wrong hands. And same thing, and that's why I'm okay with the mag sizes right now, because even when you do the 3-gun thing, I mean, you do mag. I don't know if you do mag changes in that. It's not a sport I've really looked into too much, but I mean, when you do a mag change, that's when you risk jamming. That's when you, in theory, could charge somebody who's got a rifle or whatever, right? So if they have this giant magazine, that takes away all those opportunities, because you do shoot slower with a mag change. Even somebody who changes a mag really quick takes time to change a mag, and they could fumble it. I mean, and I'm sure everybody's watched videos on YouTube of people, like, when they do their drills and they're, oh fuck, and then they drop the magazine. And I mean, it's practice and it's learning the muscle memory, but you fuck up a lot of them. So imagine if your adrenaline's pumping, right, and you're trying to do this. So I understand why there's a limit to the magazine size. I personally don't have a problem with it. Personally, also I'm not affected by it because I don't own any rifles that it would apply to.
Mm-hmm.
2 further objections, I guess.
Okay, go ahead.
Not to be political, but the recent-ish thing in Nova Scotia, the mass shooting, mass murder, that was spaced over 13 hours. You could have done that with a single shot cooey. It doesn't matter. And I believe a concern in World War II with the M1 Garand, with the ping noise when you're out of ammo, was that, oh no, the enemy will hear the ping and come charging in while you're reloading. And I don't have a source for it offhand, but from what I've read and listened to places where they discuss this, it again doesn't matter because you're going to be reloaded before that can do anything.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, a lot of I mean, I never I wasn't in World War I, but when we were advancing on the line in the military, I'm not sure how the Canadians do it, but we would always be relieving each other. And I mean, the standard was really high because of the stuff that we did in the military, like what my unit was. So our standard was really, really high, but you're supposed to kind of try and time it for what the person next to you is doing. So if you're like, one of us will start popping off our mag pretty quick, so that you're a little bit staggered on the mag changes, because at no point should there be 2 people next to each other reloading at the same time. That's a big fucking fail. You try and time it to what the person next to you is doing. So you got to be aware of what's ahead of you, but you got to be aware of what's next to you as well. And there should always be lead in the air, because that's keeping the heads down. So I don't know. Like I said, I've not gone to war yet, but so it could be a little bit different if it's one-on-one or whatever. But typically, if you're advancing on a line, from my understanding or how we did it, was that somebody's always shooting, because you never want to see those heads pop up.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I hear what you're saying, and consistency would be interesting. I guess it's one of those things where when things get stupid, they get frustrating because it's just stupid.
Yeah, like we have the bolt actions, and we can load up to 10 in them, right?
Manual actions, there's no limit whatsoever. So
no limiting. Okay, so there you go. Like when there's inconsistency, there will be mistakes. There will be people who will accidentally not follow the law as well, not because they're unwilling to follow the law, but just because there are so many things that you need to learn and know and memorize, and that you could fail. There are a lot of points of failure, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, somebody just chimed in here. The potential 4th person.
Bring him on.
I know. I said, you want to? He's like, I'm busy for a couple of days. I'm like, we're doing all right now. Anything else that we want to say before we put the mag sizes to bed?
Not a serious objection to it, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's just always annoyed me where you've got the FN PS90 with a 50-round capacity is standard. Why is that limited to 5? It doesn't even go into double stack mode. Why?
Fair enough.
It's not important. It's just a pet peeve.
Okay, mag size. Okay, full auto prohibition. That'll be interesting. We have not had full automatic in Canada since the
78-ish.
Yeah.
Oh.
How do we feel about that? Has anybody shot full auto?
I have not. No.
Planning to, but not yet.
Yeah.
As somebody who pays for his own ammunition now, I don't see myself wanting to do that. It's fun. The only rifle, because we weren't allowed to go full auto on our rifles. The ones we had were called AK5s, no relation to the Russians. So the only thing I've ever shot full auto was what the Canadians called C6. And it was fun, and I loved that thing. We all got a day at the range to just orientate in case the C6 gunner went down. We all have to be able to use it, and it was just the easiest rifle to shoot. And we were doing like 8-round bursts, and we had a couple of tracers in there, and you just kind of, and then just go right where you look, and then it was just, I never forget that day. And the fucking instructor even came over and said I was pretty good at it. I'm like, I know, I want one. But yeah, alas, a friend of mine complained his way into one. I decided to not complain, so I never got one. But anyways, full auto. Again, we live in a time of school shootings and mall shootings and pissed off dentists in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, true. So
I understand why we don't have full auto.
Yeah, I do too. Like I'm very pro gun, but I believe that I agree with the ban of full auto. I'm never going to advocate for like having full autos in Canada. I think they're fun, but in the wrong hands they can be devastating for sure.
I actually think we probably should have them. I don't think there should be a full ban. I do agree that there's very limited use cases for it, and it's mainly just a fun thing because like there's no reason in the world that someone who's not in military law enforcement would ever use them against a living thing. But
ours in corrections were not full auto. I believe we actually had the AR-15s, and the cops, the ones that they have in the cruisers, unless I'm mistaken, they have C8s, which is the carbine version, and they're also only semi-automatic.
They do have them available though. There is,
I believe the cop SWATs have full auto, but the Joe police cop, I think they just have the semi-auto version as well.
And I agree that it shouldn't be just willy-nilly everywhere, but like I don't think it should be a full ban. I think if it's cracked down enough that if it's restrictive enough that it should be something allowed. You know, if you go to the range somewhere, sure, go ahead, have some fun, and that's it. Like there's no reason to do it in the woods or anything.
So how about this then? We've got 2 licenses, right? How about if we had a third
category for that?
And then they could have the larger mags and the fun mode on the gun.
I wouldn't necessarily combine those, but yeah, like just some additional something in place where there's a general assurance that it's fine for whatever reason. This person is fine. So
because, like you said, it's very limited use. It's a good way to chew up a lot of ammo and shooting full auto. Like unless you have a heavy rifle on a bipod, it's doing this, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got OIC. Ban my name concept. How about that? I think that's one you brought up, Jason.
Yeah, I think that some of the bans just by name, like even before the current OIC thing, like that there are shotguns on are shotguns on the ban list that they're functionally the same as existing models that are non-restricted. Like, why is it banned by name? It doesn't make sense.
Yes, I agree. Like my precious Daria Mark 12, it's a semi-auto shotgun, right? It is not any different than a Stoger 12 in any way. It shoots us at the same rate. Why is mine banned? And this is pretty, yeah. It's just because it looks like an AR-15, and which is in itself another discussion to have. But is it because of the magazine? There are others shotguns with mags as well that are still not banned, right? So it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, there wasn't a clear reasoning behind banning some of those rifles or shotguns, especially the shotguns.
I think Trudeau he might have fucked up a little bit when he proposed, because he's been. I mean, it's been in the papers that he used the Nova Scotia shooting as a catalyst for this. But I mean, he campaigned on this like this was an election promise. I'm not liberal, but I can understand from a liberal point of view, he's just following through an election promise. And a liberal voter with a liberal PM, and there's a massive shooting, and he doesn't throw in extra gun laws, that would have seen as a bit of a ball drop. So I understand why he did it, but the Nova Scotia thing was just a catalyst. This was coming anyways. But what I think where he fucked up is that he had this as an election promise, but didn't actually realize how many gun models it would apply to. Because the AR-15 is the poster child for all the bad guns, but there's another 1,400 models behind, 1,499 models behind that one, and that number is still growing apparently.
Yeah, so the there, for example, wasn't banned in the first wave, but then it gone banned in the second. It wasn't. I don't think they've thought this through. I think that was done very quickly to respond to the shooting, like you said, and it wasn't thought very well through.
Yeah, the shooting in particular in Nova Scotia. Again, there's been news articles where it's been publicized recently-ish, and I think without evidence previously, but with evidence this time around of all the firearms were illegal in the first place in Canada. So that does nothing. That wouldn't have changed a thing. The ban by name aspect and the AR-15 in particular, like there are still rifles around that are functionally the same thing as an AR. They're just less ergonomic or less pleasant to shoot or clean or something. Like the Tavor is still non-restricted.
Yeah.
It still shoots the same ammo. It's still semi-automatic. It takes the same magazine. So it doesn't make any sense. Like in the first place, like the AR being banned or not being restricted originally before the May OIC, restricted by name when there are multiple rifles that are almost the same around. It doesn't make any sense why that particular one is the boogeyman, for lack of a better term.
That's, I mean, one of the reasons I went from being for the AR ban to against it was ultimately we're not in America. I think we're a lot better than them. And I mean, I don't want to say you can kill with anything, but I mean, when I worked at one of the jails in Edmonton, I had a guy on my unit who shot a chick in the head with a 22, shot and killed her with a 22. So, I mean, I understand that you do a lot more damage with the bigger rounds and they're a lot more capable and stuff. But I think ultimately, and this is, like I said, why I changed my mind on this, is that we're not them. I don't think we need to be, for lack of a better word, dumbed down and policed as much as the Americans. I mean, the Americans, they do have problems. Considering population, and anybody can please fact check this and feel free to prove me wrong, but they've got about 10 times our population, but they've got about 50 or 60 times our gun homicide.
That sounds right to me, yeah.
And I've done a fair amount of reading on this because I find it interesting, and I want to make sure my facts are straight because there's a ton of misinformation on this. And in Canada, we lose about 3,000 guns a year to theft. In America, that's about 300,000 a year. And I mean, there's a reason that most crime guns in Canada are American. It's because it's easier to drive to a different country, buy something illegally there, smuggle it home, than acquire it here. That means that we are obviously doing something right with our gun laws. And I liked them before. I don't mind the C91, the bill that came out.
71?
71, I think.
I forget what it was.
Yeah.
But it was all the rage last year or whenever it was. I don't
Mhm.
mind the increased background checks on that, because I think if you can pass a background check for 5 years, you should be able to pass it for the whole of your life, because some people just wait it out.
Pretty much. Like personally, when I got my license, I did have one of the magic check boxes, so on the forms checked for depression issues.
Mhm.
And the firearms officer, he actually called me to interview me and stuff, as part of granting my license. And we talked about stuff that was, 15 years ago.
Mhm.
So like, they're already doing that. It doesn't matter. And like
Yeah.
background checks, that there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
So
I remember it was a guy that commented when this was being talked about. He was talking on one of the gun pages, one of the Canadian gun pages, and he had a criminal record that happened like 12 years ago, and it still came up, and it was still fine. So I mean, it's not a black and white. You've had this or you've done that. No more guns. It's literally the people who have to deal with this stuff. The cops. Like, I don't mind them doing this because they're the ones who have to deal with it all the time. And honestly, like I was in the military, I've worked in corrections. Like, most of the people have guns for a living are pretty fucking right wing to begin with. So for the punchers out there that are worried about the cops coming to take our guns, most cops are pretty pissed off about this as well. Plus, it's just a bunch of extra work, and the cop union just came out about this as well. Say this week, I think it was, saying that we're not a fan of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that it just adds fuel to the conservative fire of let's get rid of this. All right, Grammar name ATC. Is that something you want to touch on, Jason, or we can leave it for when we get a hunter on?
We can if you want. Like, I am a hunter, but
okay.
I don't have an ATC myself.
My bad.
I don't have an ATC license myself. So what I mentioned on Facebook there was the my ability to comment on it is going to be restricted in terms of I may not be fully aware of what's all involved with it, in terms of getting an ATC license, maintaining it, what you might have to do to qualify for. I don't know. So like I can be opinionated on it, what it should and shouldn't be, but that's probably the extent of it. You might want someone a bit more knowledgeable about it.
Do you want to venture anything, or do you want to leave it? Give me an opinion. Give me an opinion.
I think ATCs, which is going around
for the people that don't know, this is going to go out to the entire solar system. Okay. People who don't have firearms licenses, ATC is what?
An ATC is an authorization to carry. Yep. So it's basically Canada's version of the US's concealed carry kind of thing. Yep. So you could be concealed, you could be open carrying, but the idea is instead of the standard restricted firearms thing where you go from your home to your range and back again and a few other places, but those are the main things. It has to be shot at a range. An ATC would allow you to use a restricted firearm out in the bush somewhere. So you could, really? In the middle of nowhere, you could have an AR-15 potentially. You could have, or before it's prohibited, you could have a pistol, whatever. If you have an ATC license, and there are multiple reasons to have an ATC license in the bush or as part of your job, like corrections officer, for example, or security guard or something, armed security guard, or a variety of reasons. There's like 3 or 4, I think, but. Personally speaking, from an ATC standpoint, I think the carrying restricted firearms in the bush, that makes sense. Like, people should be able to do that. I don't think we should be doing it in the city and stuff. That's fine being as a job-related thing or something. Maybe if you want some sort of really heavy license on that, okay, sure. I don't have a desire for it personally, but I think if you're a hunter, you should be able to have like a pistol for like small game or something. That shouldn't be a problem.
Well, a lot of people say as well for predator defense. If you're hunting and something's hunting you.
Yeah, for predator defense, probably a long gun is probably better overall. Just because a predator that wants to eat a person is going to be kind of large, probably. Yeah. But there are fairly powerful handguns around that work, or maybe you're using like a fairly short barrel rifle that would be restricted. That would make sense.
Clearly, you've never been bit by a ferret. Little fucking cat teeth. It was an ex-girlfriend's sister had one.
Oh,
Stinky little things. But yeah, no, like a rifle round would definitely do a lot more damage. But from what I've heard of people that want to carry in the bush, it's usually they want to have a sidearm. But I think a lot of that's more for the cowboy feel. And like as in corrections, I had a sidearm for a while, and it loses its appeal pretty quick. It just gets in the way with your fucking seatbelts and shit.
yeah, and I think there is some debate also about the effectiveness of firearms. Like I said, long guns are better, but even bear spray, having bear spray or something is sometimes more effective. Like here's from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. A statistic that injury is the risk of injury when attacked by grizzlies increased by 50% when you use a firearm rather than like bear spray. So and there are, of course, I've had this discussion with some people on Facebook, and there are opposing views to that as well. But yeah, I think I agree. Like in the city, I would not be in favor of ATCs, but in the bush, I don't think there's a problem with that, to be honest. But it is what it is.
Well, yeah, it is what it is.
With a spray, it's a lot easier to. I mean, you don't have to be as accurate. You can. I mean, just mist in the general direction, right? Like some of the. I've never played with a bear spray, but when I was in corrections, we have to learn how to use the OC spray, and then we all get sprayed like we spray each other.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, if I was a bear, I'd probably think twice if I got a squirt of that in the eye.
Thing with that, and again, this is more mental theory crafting, essentially stuff.
Yeah.
Bear spray, etc. Yeah, there's also the potential of maybe the wind changes and you spray yourself. Great.
Yeah, that's true.
Now you're getting eaten and your eyes hurt.
That is true.
But it's also bear spray. It's non-lethal, which obviously or should be non-lethal. But like it fundamentally relies upon the animal deciding not to kill you. Like if you get a really angry bear, you bear spray it, you totally get it. It says, I don't care. This looks like lunch. Game over. A rifle or something, it doesn't get that decision. So
yeah, true enough.
Fair. Yeah.
True enough. Okay. I thought we'd leave this one for last. The OIC. How do we feel? So Shamy, you're pretty new to this. You said you've been shooting for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And you've been personally affected by the OIC, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like, so one of the very first guns I actually shot by, like, was my friend's gun. It was the rifle, the AR-15. And it was super easy and fun to use. And then taking that away, I think, impedes introducing the hobby or the sport to a lot of newcomers, because it's very economic, it's ambidextrous, it's easy to use, easy to teach a new person who is new to the hobby to and to the sport to learn how to shoot properly and so on. My wife, for example, is having trouble finding something that suits her to shoot properly. She's a smaller stature. She has her license as well. So yeah, I think I don't like the direction where this has been going, to be honest.
I'd agree with that as well. Like I own an AR-15. It took me a while to actually warm up to them because it sounds silly, but I actually don't like loud noises. And I find 223, 556
Shooting is the sport for you.
It's totally funny. But I find 223 and 556 with an AR and the muzzle brake and all that, they're loud. Even for guns, they're loud. So that took me a while to sort of get past. But once I was actually using one, like a guy at a range let me use one that he'd built some sort of AR that had been modeled after the M16A3 or something, obviously semi-auto only, but like it was supposedly spot on, and it was really fun to shoot. Like it was very comfortable, but exactly where I was shooting, it was really nice. So I started saying to myself, I'm gonna get one of these. And so I went and got myself an AR-15. I built it from parts, and that was educational and fun and interesting. And just knowing where every little bit is. And
It's
yeah,
the Harley Davidson of the gun community. It's unique, right? There's very many like it. A lot of Jap bikes try and copy the Harleys, but I mean a Harley's always a Harley. And Harley owners are really, really loyal to my wife's got 2 Harleys. Harley owners are really loyal to Harley, and AR people are very, very, very passionate about their guns, and it's a fantastic platform.
yeah, the ergonomics of it are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's really enjoyable to shoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the accessories, all that stuff, like, things that don't matter in terms of it's a gun, it shoots things. The parts that the AR does really, really, really well aren't those. Like any gun will do that. Like, but just being able to clean it, really disassemble it, how it works on a sling, everything like this, it's really nice. And that's probably why mostly it's been very successful. Banning that, I think, was silly. I think a lot of things, and you touched on this, where like Canada's better than America. I don't want to say better per se. I would more say we don't have anywhere near the sort of problems that they've got.
Yeah.
So like we don't have the sort of mental issues that go festering for ages that cause people to do crazy things. Not to the degree anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we have a lot of I mean, compared to America, we do pretty good with crime. Compared to some other countries, maybe not so much. But I mean, comparing to the neighbor down to the south, we do quite well, I think. And I wouldn't mind if they had kind of a little bit stricter laws, because that would help us up here. We would have a lot fewer of their guns showing up on our streets.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think like buying back all these guns and the money that would be spent.
I thought for sure they were going to grandfather.
Yeah, like that's insane. I would feel safer if this money is going to actually stop the smuggling and go towards attacking the real problem, which is the gang problem and the smuggling problem. That would make our community safer. I would feel safer. Not just as a gun owner, but as a person in society, living in Canadian society. This is a better use of that money, in my opinion, than going after law-abiding gun owners who do not commit crimes. And the data and the evidence is showing that they are not the problem.
Yeah,
completely agreed. 100%.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hopefully, I mean, this is what got me involved. Is I think it's kind of bullshit the way it got pushed through. He got very little support from anybody else. I don't like to say it's a Liberal gun ban. It is a Trudeau and Blair project.
It's that particular political party, whether those people are involved or not.
Yeah. I like I said, I think he opened up a door here that he wasn't sure what he was walking into, and he's pissed off a lot of people. We're not going to ban any hunting rifles, but there's a lot of hunting rifles that showed up there. There's a lot of substitutes for those rifles, but still, if you own one and you're losing it, because to hunt or to shoot in general or anything, I mean, a rifle's not you can't just swap one for another. You get used to your rifle. You get good at your rifle. You hunt with the same rifle because you want to have an ethical kill. Or if you go to the range, I mean, this is your baby. You've had it for a long time, so you can't just start from scratch. I mean, that's going to sting, and no dollar amount can fix that. And that, I mean, going into how much money people are going to lose on their babies, because I mean, it's like trading in a car at the dealership. You're never going to get what you think it's worth.
Absolutely.
So it sucks. It really does, and that's why we had a lot of these things you sign. What are they called?
The petitions.
Yeah.
We had a lot of petitions. We signed petitions, but honestly, a lot of people do a lot of fucking belly aching online, and I didn't want to be that guy, so I decided I'll get involved, and that's when I started volunteering here, because I want to educate a lot more people and hopefully bring a lot of people on the same page, regardless of where people come from politically. Common denominator is that we all like guns, and a lot of people from all over the political spectrum are losing these guns. And I don't own any of them myself, but I still think it's bullshit. And I know I've got a pretty strong voice on this. I come from a background where I've used these guns where literally I was taught how to shoot people with them. So I know they can be pretty bad, but my bottom line is we're not that bad. Canada is a really nice place. Statistically, I think we're at right now about 250 gun deaths a year, homicide. But only about, I've read anywhere between 7 and 14. So to call it 10, only about 10 people are legal gun owners out of that 250 that use their guns to kill somebody. So I mean,
Would not be surprised.
It's really fucking minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess there's I think the Conservatives have a challenge coming up in court. I've not really been following it.
I don't know if the Conservatives do. I know there are multiple, at least 5 lawsuits against the government over the OIC currently.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Any dates coming up on that?
The only one I'm aware of is the one that the CCFR is doing, and I think they're filing for an injunction against the I don't remember the word I'm looking for, where they don't charge you for having an AR after a certain date.
The amnesty.
Amnesty, yeah. They're filing for an injunction to extend the amnesty until after the court proceedings are done in January.
Okay.
It's a 2-year amnesty, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is set to expire, well,
May or June. I'd have to look it up. 2022. 2022, yeah.
2022, yeah. Yeah. That's good news. Yeah, hopefully it goes through.
Yeah. I think in the meantime, people should just sit on their guns. I mean, you're not supposed to sell them anyways. I read an
article. You can't sell them.
You can't.
Yeah, no, I read an article that apparently people have been
like I don't know if I need to move, if I need to relocate and live in another house, would I be able to actually transfer my?
You'd have to call the CFP, the Canadian Firearms Program, ask their permission to get an ATC to move your gun from your old house to your new house.
Yeah, but that's for prohibiteds as well.
For these prohibiteds.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So yeah,
it's like there is an exception that allows them to do that in terms of moving them.
Fair enough.
When you're moving, residences. But yeah.
Well, I don't like it. I don't like how it got pushed through. I don't like how extensive it is. If he wants to ban the ARs, ban the ARs. Well, I don't, but you know what I'm saying. Like, don't ban fucking all of these ones. I understand why.
It's
fully.
I know. Like, it's fully semi-automatic, and looks scary.
Well, yeah, like
there's no reason for it to be restricted to begin with, let alone be prohibited. So,
and like the I had a brain fart. Never ignore me.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay. What was I going to say? Continue without me. It'll come to me.
Well, we're coming up on 45 minutes here. So I thought, how about we wrap up on something positive? So, Shamy, what is the next gun you're going to buy?
I'm looking into Tapco stock SKS for my wife. But I want to get into pistols. So I have rifles and shotguns. I don't have a pistol yet. So I'm looking to find my first pistol, probably a Glock or something. Still not sure.
You shoot pistol, right, Jason?
I do. Yeah, I've got a CZ75.
Okay.
It's a very different experience from shooting a long gun. It's different.
Yeah,
good, bad, whatever.
I shoot the CZ and the Glock with my buddies at the range, but I don't own one. So yeah, it's a pretty fun experience. It's very different, correct?
Yeah. Shamy, you have just rifles? Any shotguns?
I have shotguns. I have an SKS.
Oh yeah, you mentioned earlier. That's right.
Yeah, SKS. I have a shotgun, 20 gauge. Mossberg. I have a 12 gauge prohibited area now. What
do you shoot with the shotguns?
We play 5-stand and trap at the range. So 5-stand is just pretty addictive and fun, and it's community thing where a lot of people participate. It's really, really fun, and very addictive. And traps as well. And also, I try to shoot slugs just for training on eventually maybe going hunting someday.
Any opinion on trap versus skeet? And I'm doing this to piss off Dave. We have a discussion because a friend of his trains in this. But any opinion on trap versus skeet?
I've not tried skeet actually.
Okay, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind giving it. We have a couple of shotgun only ranges in my area.
Okay.
So that would open up a little bit more. Same question, Jason. What's your next gun?
It's not in the budget currently, but I'm actually looking forward to trying out and then getting a hold of a Marlin 1894. It's 44. I'd have to check the caliber. It's a pistol caliber rifle, basically, lever action. I've shot the 4570 or the 4570 version of it before, the 1895, and it's a lot of fun. Kicks a little too hard for me, but it's a lot of fun. So a slightly less recoil heavy gut version of that would be pretty cool, I think. So
fair enough. Well, I'm still on the hunt, no rush though, but for the elusive Swedish Mauser. I am the Model 96. I shot one when I was in the militia when I was young. When I was 15 years old, it was the first proper rifle I shot. And I saw one in a gun store about 3-4 years ago, and I want one. they're just all, and there's Swedish steel as well. Apparently, they made some of them up there under license, and I just want one. I like bolt actions though. My wife's got a semi-automatic, but I like bolt actions. Like how fun am I?
I like bolt actions too.
Yeah, I honestly, I would take a 100-year-old rifle over a brand new rifle any day. I like Milsurp. I was very keen on the Mosin Gans for a while, and then I started looking at the British rifles, and then I just thought, fuck it, I'll just spend the money, I'll buy myself a now.
Yeah, I've got a Lee Enfield myself. Love it. So
yeah, but they're a little bit more expensive. Most all of it is 22s right now for me until I figure out what I want to get. All right, we should wrap it up there, I guess. Thanks for joining in, and hopefully we'll do this again, and maybe I can have one or both of you on as kind of a guest to have some of these discussions for future episodes.
Sure,
absolutely.
But,
thank you.
Awesome. And Shamy, I gotta say, your beard is not that big in your Facebook profile picture.
Yeah, that's my pandemic beard.
Beard?
Started last November, but it went.
Oh, it's right here. This is my little Movember happening right here. This will be. I'm at the age now where I'm starting to like this. I've told my wife, don't let me keep this mustache, because I'm at the age where I grew up the mustache last November, and I'm like, oh, this looks good. Wait, fuck, no, I don't want to have a mustache.
You get used to it after a while.
Oh, fuck, I don't want to. I like a little bit of stubble, and that's it. But
yeah.
Okay. All right, let's put a pin in it, fellas. Thanks very much for joining in, and I'll talk to you guys once I hit end here. But,
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
ciao.
you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.